So you've got business executives, investment strategies, and others looking beyond the reforms so far announced by the Nigerian president since he took office in order to achieve growth in the new year that's now well underway. Last week, I sat down to a panel of executives in banking, oil and gas, power, special economic zones, and manufacturing, looking to harvest their thoughts on the current policy environment and what lies ahead across various sectors of the economy. The event was the Cardinal Stone Partners Investors Conclave Evening Meeting. Take a listen.
That practically off the gate when the PIO was enacted, we witnessed a raft of divestments. It's not accidental. And there's a message there. And when you look at how revenue has dwindled for us as a nation, and especially in an industry that contributes as much as 85% of our forex earning, I think there are some much more deeper lying themes that are not being paid attention to, and which I'm hoping that in this sort of conversation we can spotlight it and hopefully provide a way of how we come out of the woods. So our industry has been dominated by well-recognized facts that evacuation remains a challenge, and because evacuation is a challenge, is a major reason why today we're doing about 1.3 million barrels as opposed to 2.5 million barrels that we did in 2005. When you look at the delta of what 1.3 million barrels of oil, especially in a price-strong macro situation we are in, compared to what 2.5 could have been, you see a lot of problem. But it's not just about the fact that we are challenged along the lines of evacuation. I mean, today when you look at how our industry is configured, it started with the majors who built long transmission pipelines to the terminal, which is the point of sale. Over time, as things evolved, those pipelines, some of them, single pipeline system, 400 kilometers long, became very difficult to police. How do you police and secure a 400-kilometer pipeline that passes through hundreds of communities, passes through land, passes through swamp? So a major challenge is we need first to secure, but not in the sense in which we're used to, where it's about putting men on the line. It's about how do we deploy technology to give us a better coverage. But how do you also reconfigure our evacuation architecture, that it is not built on just one single line that runs through many production centers and becomes vulnerable at some point?
But if you just speak specifically to the power sector in terms of the reforms being talked about, the whole new set of privatization that the new administration is looking to achieve in that space, if we can have a competitive environment, and if we have a single competitive electricity market, and how will it all really work out in terms of the new horizon to deliver power that will help industrialization, that will support inflows from FX and all of that?
We see the commencement, and I use that word carefully, the commencement towards the liberalization of the sector. We see that states, individuals, companies can now generate, license generating bodies. There is some move towards the transmission, because whilst, yes, we need to generate more power, we need to get it to the end user. And perhaps more importantly, end users, can you please pay for your power? Please? Can you please pay for your power? And this is part of what the changes that we need to do. There needs to be a little bit more of social education in our country. We have different policy interventions. But policy interventions would only be policy interventions if there's no implementation. A lot of times we do economic analysis and everybody leaves the sociological impact. Therein lies the problem. Why you will find that we come up with this fantastic policy that people like Philip and Co. and Michael, you guys would have gone to do all the brain work. but you bring it out and you find that you have challenges.
Push forward from 2023 first half, second half to where we are today. What's your outlook in what lies ahead in how you will try to resolve the issues of FX and how it impacts your raw materials and at the end of the day, what the consumers like myself pay out of my pocket to get that sugar into my cup of tea or coffee?
The forex market has opened up. Willing buyer, willing seller. The spirit is quite good, because if we work with this spirit, at least we can have the right costing on our table. Unfortunately, for last 2 years, the CBN was giving us at their own rates, and we were working on the rates, official market, official rates, CBN. Unfortunately, when the devaluation happens, we were all taken by the shock, and we have reported billions of naira into losses. If you look at by September end, 9 months, many of the companies, these Nigerian breweries, Cadbury, Nestle, Dangote Sugar, we have lost billions, maybe 350 billions in last 9 months. Having said that, we are facing these challenges as of now, because the unifying of the rate, although the spirit behind the policy behind the unification is there, but still the difference between the parallel market rate and the official rate is almost about 40 to 45%. Every day it is changing. Today I heard that the naira has crossed almost about 1,410. So the situation is really very grim. We are looking at, we are watching it, we are strategizing, but the foundation for this whole challenge is that how do we go to the self-sufficiency? We cannot remain dependent on importing raw material all the time, because Nigeria is the largest market in Africa. 220 million people. Importing food, FMCG, is not at all a solution. 50% of Nigerians are unemployed. The solution lies in the self-sufficiency, in the creating own capacity, backward integration projects. These are the areas where we need to work. We need to change our policies to align with the Nigerian needs. I have heard so many things about oil, gas, everything, but I have not heard anything about agriculture. Agriculture is the foundation for any country. If you change your narrative to agriculture, that will provide jobs to the millions of the people, that will spur the growth of industry, that will revolutionize industrialization in Nigeria, solve the problems of the forex, solve the problems of the unemployment. It will bring prosperity. We don't need to talk in dollars. We don't need to talk outside currencies. We need to talk in our own currency. All solution lies with us, but only we need to change our policy parameters, our narrative, that what are our priorities. Nigeria has beautiful environment. It has good water resources. It has good soils. What we need to do to align our fundamental requirements.
Now coming to the question like competition, I would say that at present the country has almost 48 special economic zone registered across the country, as compared to is like China, where they have more than thousands of special economic zones, all progressing. So I would say that having more special economic zone is not a challenge for us, but it's more of a competition and work together to ensure that the right benefit with the country is due to have it is able to reap it. It's not a per competition. Adding to Rajiv's point that we should focus on export, but to focus on export, we also need the infrastructure which is required, which I feel the country was lacking, having the current situations of the port and the infrastructure which is required to take the goods out of the country to other parts of it. And that's where I would say that the Lagos Free Zone in collaboration with the Lekki Deep Sea Port comes in, because that brings a new port infrastructure in the map of area, and which will help Nigeria to enjoy or to get the benefit from the export-oriented products.
The banks can be recapitalized to help us support the economy, but do you have the fundamentals in place? You don't. We need infrastructure. We need so much more to do to be able to support the economy. So you need to solve the real sector first before banks can really solve the economy, before banks can support. So yes, look, if you look at loan to deposit rates, they've been low. Why? Because you really cannot support. How many companies can you support? You don't have a lot going on. Infrastructure is not in place, high energy cost, security is a problem. How do you start? Those things have to be in place first before we can. So yes, recapitalization is good, but the banks cannot do all that for the economy. The federal government has to come in and do a lot.